Hey everyone, as you start coming in, jump in the chat, let us know where you're calling in from, and we'll be getting started in a couple minutes. We're getting Dr. Ghannoum all set up, and we will get rocking and rolling. And just, just open up the chat, let us know where you're joining us from. All right, we got Connecticut, we got North Dakota in the house. Hey, Carrie. Who else do we have here? Got Melanie in Ohio. That's where we're based. Welcome. Got Lodi, California in the house. I see Dr. Ghannoum just joined, so when we get started, let me see if I can, okay. Dr. Ghannoum, you are on mute, but you can now also talk, and I'm also gonna get Melanie in here so that if there's any questions, we can coordinate. All right, so Melanie, you're in as well.
I unmuted myself. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
All right, Dr. Ghannoum, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, he's trying to talk. See,
I got you. I can hear you, G.
Okay, let me see now. It's trying to open Zoom. Sorry about this. It starts in a few seconds, it says.
Melanie, see if need be, give Dr. Ghannoum a quick call.
Can you hear me?
So
I can hear you.
So
I can hear
where else
you.
do we have people coming in from? I see Cassandra. Cassandra's been a great help. I know you were trying to join the call yesterday, but so thanks for joining again.
I don't know. Say your meeting should start in a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Dr. G. And we're trying to figure out how Afif can hear you.
Oh, let me see audio setting. It's not showing me. I think here.
All right, Dr. Ghannoum, can you try and talk? Let's see if that made a difference.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Okay, we can hear you. Yep. Perfect.
But I'm trying to open the video. If you want me in video, it's fine without the video because it's not allowing me.
Well, let's ask the audience. Do you guys want to see Dr. Ghannoum? I assume you're doing it from your office, Dr. Ghannoum?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Quick. What does the audience want? I think I have one yes. You know what?
Show us him.
All right, go video.
It says you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Oh, okay. Well, I can start it.
Okay.
Let me see here.
Technology, am I right?
I tell you, it's when you are in it, it's oh, here we are.
Okay.
But let me see if I can do. Yeah, it still say you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Okay, hold on. Well, let's get started. I'll continue working on this to see if we can add your video, but let's go ahead and get started.
Otherwise, hopefully next time you'll see me.
Okay. All right, so let's start hitting the questions. And actually, before we do that, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us. We know this is a really stressful time. There's a ton going on, and we did that video last week about immunity and how to optimize your immunity, especially around gut health. So what we wanted to do was we got a lot of tremendous questions, and we wanted to just open it up for questions. So we're going to start answering some of those questions. And if you have questions while we're doing this, just go ahead and type them in the chat, and we're going to answer as many as we can. So with that, Melanie, why don't you start teeing up the questions? All right, Melanie, I'm going to make you a panelist as well, just to make it simpler. So I think then, okay, Melanie. Okay, Melanie, hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Okay, let's start hitting the questions then.
All right, perfect. So, first question. Do you want me to just go from the ones that we've received?
Yeah, I can see the one we received. Like the first question from Pam, who thank you, Pam, for asking, and I really appreciate your question. I understand that you're taking BIOHM probiotic with vitamin C daily, and your question is, will that be good to protect my immune system? And this is really very, very good question. I think what this will do, BIOHM with vitamin C, two things. Number one, it will provide you with beneficial bacteria as well as yeast, so that it will rebalance your gut. Having a rebalanced microbiome in your gut is really very, very important for your immunity. At the same time, it has also, as you mentioned, vitamin C. And there are a number of studies where really vitamin C shows a number of benefit to the immune system. For example, there are studies to show that vitamin C plays an important role in neutrophil function. This is one of the immune cells, and what it does, it really allow these cells to be very active and go to try to attack the organisms or the infecting microbes. Also, there are not only it works on the cellular component, but also on the other forms, the humoral immunity, as we call, also is really affected by vitamin C. And there are a lot of studies that to show that there is really, by activating the immune system by vitamin C, it will prevent tissue damage. So not only it affects the immune cells, but also protect your gut lining as well. So I hope this answers.
Dr. Ghannoum, we have one question related to this that just popped up in the chat, and I've just started taking, and just to be clear, we're going to answer some of these BIOHM specific questions, but a lot of these are also going to be just general immunity and gut health questions. Just wanted to put that out there. So someone asked, I just started taking the BIOHM product, but I don't have the one with vitamin C. Until my current bottle is used, can I just add a vitamin C supplement? Yeah, I think that works just fine. It's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And also what's now, one thing I forgot to say, what will happen with BIOHM supplement, we published a paper where we showed that the strains in BIOHM, which are the probiotic strains, they are able to break what we call digestive plaque. It's like the plaque in your teeth. And this digestive plaque is formed in your gut, and they really start to cause trouble, cause damage to the epithelial lining. So by getting rid of that digestive plaque, like we get rid of the plaque in our teeth, you are gonna have healthier gut lining, and also, which really, this will also help your immunity.
Yeah, and Dr. Ghannoum, when you talk about the epithelial lining, what you mean is the lining of the gut, correct? And also,
yes,
assuming some of you saw the video, so Dr. Ghannoum and I are actually related. I'm the co-founder of BIOHM, so it's goofy for me to call him Dr. Ghannoum, but I didn't know how many people know that. I typically call him Dad. Okay, so Melanie, what's another question we have that you can feed over to Dr. Ghannoum?
Yep, so one question that we just got is what specific ingredients are used to dissolve digestive plaque?
Very, very good question. What we did in our studies is we showed that when you grow these organisms, what they do, the probiotic strains in BIOHM, they secrete molecules such as short chain fatty acids and other metabolites. These metabolites, what they do, like we did a study and we showed that really they secrete like indole acetic acid. And this is very good component because it also can prevent the ability of the organism to form these they are like threads or filaments which can poke holes in your gut lining. So these secreted by the BIOHM, they can prevent these activities, and therefore they also break these threads that are formed. You can imagine like you have a lot of like spaghetti. Fungi sometimes it's like spaghetti, which you can imagine having spaghetti going in your gut and started to break in down. That's what the best example I can give you. They are like threads there. Okay.
Yeah, so very simplistically, it's the combination of the bacteria, the fungi, and the digestive enzyme that is actually breaking down that digestive biofilm, which we call digestive plaque, correct?
Exactly, and that's basically, yeah, it's good you brought up the enzyme amylase have been shown by experimental evidence to break these digestive plaques.
Okay.
Next question. How important is learning about food sensitivity? It seems that if you don't address that, then you can end up with gut issues again. I have a concern about taking probiotics if I have SIBO because I read it can make it worse. How do your probiotics work with an overgrowth like that?
This is really very good question. SIBO, as you know, is like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Also, we have another form of overgrowth. It's called SIFO, which is small intestinal fungal overgrowth. Okay, so and these organisms, when they overgrow, they form what I just talked about, which is the digestive plaque. So our probiotic is able to break those down. Okay, now sometimes you raise another important point. Sometimes we all need to listen to our body. When you start something, try to see, maybe if you take it every day, it doesn't suit you. So you need to try to adjust. A lot of the time, like they say, sometimes elimination diet, where you remove one piece at a time and you see what is the food sensitivity that's affecting you. But the strains that we have in our BIOHM, as well as the enzyme amylase, have been known to be what you call GRAS, or generally regarded as safe, and they should not really cause this irritation for you like you are describing. However,
so Dr.
Ghannoum, your body.
Dr. Ghannoum, specific question for you. With SIBO, is there a concern about using any probiotic if you're dealing with SIBO?
Really, SIBO, usually the growth of bacteria which is not beneficial. It's not the growth of good bacteria, you know? Okay, so when you take a probiotic, you are hoping that you are going to overwhelm the bad ones and rebalance it by encouraging the beneficial bacteria, you know? So you sort of crowd them out.
Got it. So you haven't seen, basically you haven't seen anything to suggest that if you're dealing with SIBO, a probiotic could cause an issue. It's more along the lines that it should help optimize the balance.
Yes, it should overcrowd the bad ones and encourage the growth of good ones. But again, at the same time, I always recommend don't depend on probiotics by itself to give you good health. We need you also to have a good diet. Like, for example, if I have overgrowth of these organisms, I want to encourage the good bacteria, like lactobacillus, for example. And how I can do that? You can do that by eating fibers and resistant starch, because these fibers and resistant starch, our intestine does not break them. What break them is the good organisms. And then these good bacteria, when they break them down, they use them as food, basically, and they overgrow. And this will allow them to really overwhelm the bad ones. I hope this answered the question.
You did great. Next question. How long does it take to build a strong immune system? I was also wondering how long it takes to fix your gut. I have been taking your prebiotic and probiotic for about a week now.
Yeah, you know, this is really also an important question. To answer this question, what we did a study with our probiotic, and the study was for 4 weeks. And what we did, we tried to look at the baseline, in other words, before they started taking the probiotic, and 4 weeks after, at the end of this period. And we found that by 4 weeks, we were able to rebalance the microbiome in our gut. Now, you will start to see some differences within a couple of weeks, okay? How do I know that? We did another study, but this time we looked at diet, and we found that using the good food, the right food, the healthy food, you know, by 2 weeks, we started to see differences in the microbiome makeup in the people who were part of the study. And that showed us that, okay, the wave of good beneficial bacteria and fungus started to occur, and therefore they'll start to feel a little bit better. But I would say at least 4 weeks till you see hopefully a good response.
And then there's another question.
Oh, wait, there's one before that, Afif.
Oh, go ahead.
Melissa's asking, what are some examples of resistant starch?
That's really a very good question. Resistant starch, you can find it in a number of, like, for example, unripened bananas, in oatmeal, you can find it in sweet potatoes. All of these have good resistant starch.
Okay, and then another question, is there an optimal time of day to take pre or probiotics, and should it be with or without food?
You know, usually, let me tell you what I do. What I do is after I eat in the morning my breakfast, I take the probiotic, okay? Some other people prefer to take it in the evening after they eat. Why? Because it seems to help them sleep better, okay? So to me, I think first of all, I recommend that you take the probiotic after you eat. You may ask why. It's because our stomach has an acidic environment. And if you are like, for example, fasting or you haven't eaten for a long time, the acidity increases in our stomach. And sometimes this acidity may harm the beneficial, you know, the viable or the live strains in your probiotic. However, if you eat, what happens, within 30 minutes, the pH, which is an indicator of acidity, goes from 1.5 to about 4 to 6. So that's why it is good idea to have it after you eat, whether you prefer it in the morning or just before, after your dinner. So it's just your preference.
Okay, and then there was a follow-up question. What kinds of fiber do you recommend along with the probiotic?
Fiber, you know, there are a lot of nice food. For example, legume. Legume is a very good source of fiber. Not too long ago, when we had the fall, pumpkins have great fibers. A lot of mushrooms, for example, have a lot of fiber. So all of these are a really good source of fiber.
All right, next question. If the gut microbiome has tens of trillions of different microorganisms, how can a probiotic supplement that only contains 5 to 10 different species possibly make a difference in the gut flora? How can this possibly restore balance?
You know, clearly, as you asked, there are a lot of microbes in our gut. So you can imagine when you take a probiotic, like for example, if we talk about BIOHM probiotic, we have 4 different strains, okay? but each one of them has a large number of them. Like for example, BIOHM have 30 billion strains. So you are not taking, even though the number of strains is low, each one of them have very large number of it. And also, once you start taking it, it will accumulate. It's not maybe the first day you go in, it's not helping you, but after, as we said, by 4 weeks, it has enough impact that it changed the bad organism or those that are pro-inflammatory that cause inflammation with the ones that are anti-inflammatory. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, second part of that question. Do you think that balancing the gut microbiome can help alleviate serious food allergy reactions, alleviate other allergy issues, such as, for example, eczema?
You know, we did a study and we are actually trying to do, not with eczema, with psoriasis and atopic dermatitis, okay? So we found that in people with psoriasis, okay, just as an example, they really have dysbiosis. In other words, they have imbalance in their microbiome, okay? So with that in mind, if you try to rebalance the gut, then it's gonna improve the skin. In fact, there are studies that showed that people who take a probiotic, okay, like Bifidobacterium pravi, they had less acne, okay? It was able to resolve acne. So definitely using the right strains are going to have an effect on different skin, for example, manifestations, as I mentioned, whether it is atopic dermatitis or psoriasis or, for that matter, acne. In fact, I published a paper, and you can find it, it's open access, where I talked about gut, skin, brain axis. So there is an communication between your gut and the skin. Okay.
And one thing I do always want to jump in. Obviously, with a probiotic, it's what microbiome is interesting because there's definitely a lot of correlation. The causation piece is what we're all collectively still trying to figure out. So at this point, there is no probiotic proven to deal with those issues, but there's very promising evidence. Don't you think that's fair to say, Dr. Ghannoum?
Yeah, I mean, now the nice thing about it is, you know, for the probiotic field, before the really discoveries of the microbiome and its effect, was a cowboy area. You know, people can say what they want to say and whatever. Now, even the National Institute of Health are putting what we call request for application, which means you put an application to study something so that you can get your scientific evidence. And they are putting a lot for probiotic because they want to know which probiotic can work and which does not. So now the good news is we are starting to learn more and more about probiotic, and the consumers are getting more educated. They want scientific evidence for what you claim. You know, before it was, you can say what you want, but now the world changed to a better as far as evidence to support what you say with the probiotic.
All right, next question. How does the prebiotic, the probiotic?
It cut out for a second. How does the prebiotic differ from the probiotic?
Okay, so probiotic, as I've been talking about, they are live organisms, okay? In other words, they are bacterial or fungal strains. They are a live organism, and then when you want to use them, when they go down in your gut, they end up to the colon, the lower or the large intestine. They need to stay alive because, as remember, we want them to support the others to secrete these metabolites or small molecules in the gut so that it will help your immunity as well as other issues which we've been talking about. Now,
yeah. Sorry, let me take a step back because I think sometimes it's easy to get lost in the weeds, right? The simplest way to think about it is probiotics are like seeds in a garden, right? And so that's ultimately what we want to grow. Prebiotics, which is basically a fancy word for dietary fiber, think of it as topsoil for your gut, because prebiotics are something that probiotics will feed on. So what a prebiotic does is it really helps you create a really optimal environment in your gut to feed probiotics. And remember, it's not just about growing the probiotics that you take from a probiotic supplement. You have these probiotic organisms natively in your gut as well. So you want to encourage their growth. So that's the difference. A probiotic is the actual live germ, the seed, and the prebiotic is dietary fiber that probiotics eat, and it's really topsoil for your gut. That's the simplest way to think about it.
Exactly. It's their food, basically. It's the food that these good organisms can break down. Remember when we talked about some fibers from pumpkins, as I mentioned. Why? Because this is what we need to feed these organisms. Taking a prebiotic supplement is doing the same.
The last part of that question is, when should the prebiotic be taken?
I think, basically you can take it with the probiotic, or if you want, you can take the take the probiotic in the morning, and then at lunchtime take the prebiotic, or in the evening take the prebiotic. So it's just up to you, because they don't contraindicate each other.
Another question. With everything that's been going on, what would you suggest to do to help increase immunity in the gut?
Yes, I think really this is very appropriate and timely question. We are all passing through very difficult time and stressful time. I heard there's a 48-50% of people have anxiety. So we need, with anxiety and stress, your balance in the microbiome changes, and you are going to have weaker immune system for that matter. So what we want to do? Dr.
Ghannoum, sorry, I just want to make sure we're really breaking it down for people, right? So before you get into what to do, let's explain why. So it's kind of a misnomer that the only way the gut is impacted is by like food, or if you're using probiotics, it's what we call multifactorial, right? And so people are very aware of like optimizing through their diet. They're pretty aware, obviously, of optimizing through supplementation. But one of the areas, and this is what you're referencing, Dr. Ghannoum, that people often overlook is the role of lifestyle in gut imbalance or gut dysbiosis. And some of those common ones are, the way you sleep, the way you exercise. Both under exercising and over exercising can impact it. But also what you're talking about is stress. Like many people take our BIOHM gut report, and if you looked at them, they exercise well, they have actually an excellent diet, but they are exceedingly stressed and they have a microbiome imbalance. So a lot of times what we see is that will have an outsized impact on microbiome balance. So when you talk about stress, especially now, it's extremely stressful period, that's why you're emphasizing that, correct?
Yes. So look, let's look at it. Okay, we are all stressed. We need to do something about it. It is well known that if you, for example, I'm not gonna go don't smoke, because we know smoking is not a good idea. What I want you to do is we need to have a good, natural, well-balanced diet. Like you need to eat a diet high in fruit and vegetables. You need also to try to do some exercise, because exercise, as Afif said, is really important for rebalancing the gut. And let me go a little bit deeper. Exercise, it doesn't mean that you kill yourself. Some people, they are extreme sports people, or they exercise very, very aggressively. No, if you just do 30 minutes a day, if you can, that will be fantastic, And also, you need to watch alcohol. Alcohol, if you have too much alcohol, is not a good idea. So you need to drink in moderation. And usually I say maybe 3 glasses of alcohol a week, you know, will be fine. And especially now with all the stress and whatever, people may go and start drinking more or hit the bottle, but this is not a good idea. You need to do other things to take you away from our anxiety, the exercise. Try to really, if you can do meditation, for example, you know, try to do a bit of yoga, you know, take your kids out for walks, for example. And now we are seeing that really, I take my dog for a walk in the evening, and I haven't seen as many people out with their kids walking. The nice thing is in this, because of the coronavirus, we need to keep our social distance. And what I'm noticing is that as people coming together, when they are across the road or they stay really, they keeping distance. I really recommend that very, very, very much, okay? Also, you need to get sleep. Try to sleep as much as you can because, you know, listen, I am an optimistic person. I think we are gonna get over this. I assure you of that. Because life always, you need to have hope, you know, and that's, you really need to remember. Remember, if you remember anything from my now, this question and answer, remember that we are gonna be fine and you need hope, because with hope we can beat everything and defeat everything.
So Dr. Ghannoum, real quick, you mentioned hitting the bottle, which for those who don't live in the 1920s, it was a funny and one question I do have is, and actually this has been asked, so before we get into that, I want to ask everyone, is this helpful? Is it too much detail? Is it too little? If give us a couple of comments in the chat, just to, we want to make sure this is useful. So let's take a 5-second pause. Just hit us. Okay, perfect. A couple people are saying it's helpful. I just want to make sure, you know, because our point of this is we want to make sure we're providing, you know, value and giving you a chance to ask us some questions.
So the other thing which I feel also we need to manage the stress, and I feel give an example when we had a lady where, you know, we looked at her microbiome, both bacteria and fungus, and what we found it's terrible. Then we looked at what she's eating, and she really was eating great food, you know, the right healthy food, lean proteins, you know, carb resistant starch and fibers, like everything you need. But then she was extremely stressed. And now we are living in a situation where all of us are stressed. You know, this is a different world. So it will be very important, please, to try to take some measures. As I mentioned, try to do some meditation, try to do some yoga, go for a walk. All of these will help you. And finally, as I mentioned, hope, okay? Now, I also looked at some type of food, which I thought I will talk to you about, which will help us. Like, for example, turmeric. Turmeric is the great spice, you know. It's curcumin is the main compound in it. And it has been shown that it has ability to alter or change the virus, okay? It also have been shown to play a role against several types of viruses. So I will recommend to put a little bit turmeric in your, like for example, I add it to my egg in the morning. If I am eating egg, it really make it taste better, but at the same time, you'll get the benefit from the immunity point of view against the viruses. Take some berries, especially elderberry. Elderberry is really good from that, you know, also it's healthy for your immunity, and also oregano oil. So I'm just mentioning them so you know, and peppermint oil, all of these. And finally, I love garlic, you know, being from the Mediterranean, we have a lot of garlic, and this have really a lot of benefit as well.
Dr. G, what you were just talking about, Melissa asks, turmeric in what form and what oil?
Turmeric, I use it like powder form, but oil, I love olive oil. Is really very, very good. Also, coconut oil is very good.
Perfect. Next question. Based on an earlier question, we have been told that the more strains of organisms, the better. Do you disagree?
Can you please say the question again?
Sure. Based on an earlier question, we have been told that the more strains of organisms, the better. Do you disagree?
I think it's not that the more the merrier, you know. It's really what's important is you need to have the right strains, usually lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, of course, Saccharomyces boulardii as yeast. These are good organisms. So it's not just you need, there are some probiotic with 100 different strains. I don't think you need that.
So you mean quantity over quality, correct? I mean quality over quantity, correct?
Yes, quality, absolutely.
So let me add a couple points to that, because it's kind of in the general area of how do you know if there's a probiotic is good. There are a few things, and this is whether it's BIOHM or any other probiotic, there's a few things you need to be looking at. First, remember as a baseline that probiotics are live organisms, okay? So they only work if they're live when they hit your system. Okay, so what are some things you need to be looking at? Okay, strain quality is critical, right? So one of the things you should be asking or looking is, where are they sourcing the strains from? Okay, that's first. The second is, what is the packaging the probiotic comes in? Why do I say that? Because a lot of packaging does not actually protect the organisms from heat. That's very important, because remember, whether you're getting it through an e-commerce site or you're buying a product at retail, it's likely moving in a truck, and this temperature is very crazy. So you want to make sure that something's in heat resistant packaging. So for example, the bottle we use is heat resistant, okay? The next thing you want to check is the probiotic, either because of the type of strain or because there's a coating, protected from the acidity on its way down to the gut? And there's two ways to do that. One, it's an enteric coating, which means you literally powder coat the probiotic, and that protects it from the acidic environment. So we do that with BIOHM. But other strains are actually hardy enough to get through. So that's just a question you want to be asking. So you really need to be looking at a holistic look at whether the organisms are alive. The last thing you want to look at is, are the CFU amounts that they say are in there. So for example, BIOHM's 30 billion, is that at time of manufacturing or guaranteed to expiration? It should be until expiration, because, you know, the analogy I always use, it's like when you buy a quarter-pound burger, it says like pre-cooking weight. You know, the burger you're getting is not actually a quarter pound. It's less because some of it's burned off. Similar thing, when you're getting a probiotic that has, let's say, 15 billion at manufacturer, by the time you actually get it, it might be, you know, a few billion. So those are a few things you need to be looking at when it comes to the quality of the probiotic. Now, a question, because I saw this question, and Vivi, you may have asked this previously. If there are trillions of organisms in the microbiome, how do a few billion of just a few different strains help? Dr. Ghannoum?
Are you asking me?
No, I was.
No. Because I already answered that question.
Yeah, I think your point is that even though there are trillions of microorganisms, Vivi, the thing you have to be thinking about is that there are organisms that there's only a handful, like let's say 60, that really are what we call core microbiome organisms. And what we found is that the critical part is not balancing out trillions of organisms. It's, can we control the organisms that could be problematic? So
it's the balance. It's the balance, basically.
Correct.
So how can we bring rebalance and maintain the good organisms?
Right. So let me take a step back and explain what we mean by that. Okay. So when we designed BIOHM, what we did was something called correlation analysis, which we basically looked for organisms that we showed controlled certain pathogenic organisms, like Candida is an easy example. What we found is that if you're able to balance certain sort of indicator organisms and bring those back into balance, the rest of the microbiota tends to be in balance. That's how we designed it. So
And yeah,
it's about keeping the overall microbiota balance, and we're able to do that through targeted strains that we know are effective.
Yeah. The other thing is really with respect to that, it's once you usually when you have imbalance, you don't have everything out of whack. There are maybe couple 2 to 3 organisms which are their abundance or level increase a lot. So when you have a probiotic, you want to target those bad ones. The others are quite happy living there and causing no issue. They help you and you help them. They produce vitamin D and you give them food, you know. So that's why even though there are trillions of organisms, as we mentioned, we are after the few that are causing trouble. So that, yeah, maybe another question.
Yep. So next question, what is the best place to start as far as your products? Which products should I purchase to break up digestive plaque?
The product that, our product, that probiotic is the one that have been shown to break down the digestive plaque. Now, nowadays, because of the also our immune system, we want to encourage having the probiotic plus vitamin C will be very good. Now, if you are eating a lot of fiber normally, then you are fine. Otherwise, I would add a prebiotic to it as well. I hope
Perfect. That was good. Last question. Do you recommend refrigerating probiotics?
That all depends on the probiotic itself. Why people, you want to make, remember, the probiotic, we want to keep them alive. Some of them are sensitive to room temperature. That's why when you are making your probiotic, like when a company is making their probiotic, they test it for stability to make sure it is really stable at what temperature. In our case, when we developed BIOHM, we selected these strains that they do not need refrigeration. Okay, and they are stable. We culture them after time and they are still there. So it depends on the probiotic brand you are buying. Ours does not need.
Perfect. For any other questions, just make sure you guys can send an email to support@biohmhealth.com and we can answer all of those. Perfect. Afif, Dr. G, do you have anything else?
No, the only thing I'll ask at the end is something like this helpful if we were doing this like maybe once every few weeks or even once a month where people get a chance to ask Dr. Ghannoum some questions? That's something that would be of interest. We're trying to figure out what would actually be helpful, and any feedback would be great.
Looks like we got some yeses.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed answering your questions, and I wish you all the best in this day and age we are living in, and we will be fine. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.